everyone, I'm Didi.
Hey everybody, Arma here, Chi Skills, and welcome to our podcast. Today we are talking about the 6-level framework for internal success, the framework we use to teach people and guide them through the process. So yeah, that's what it's about today.
Yeah, and a framework is such an important thing because
It's everything, yeah.
every skill you want to learn, if it's maybe a language or a musical instrument.
Yeah, any art, like an internal art.
Yeah,
Right?
you want to have someone who's already been through that process and hand you down the steps. And it's like a recipe for cooking.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly the same thing, yeah.
If you've been handed down that beautiful family recipe from your grandmother who's been taught by your grandmother's grandmother
Way back,
and
all the way back to Italy.
Yeah, it's been in your family for ages, and now you have this step-by-step recipe.
It's fine-tuned over the years, through the generations, and
how much of the pepper should go in, and a sniff of this
it's
and
gold,
that.
right? It's just gold, yeah.
And the beautiful thing is when you start making it, because it's, a step-by-step thing, there is pretty much certainty that there is a success at the end.
Yeah.
And especially if you repeat this recipe over and over again, like we do some of our favorite recipes we've made over 100 times, and they're just...
absolutely.
You master them.
Yeah, absolutely. But the first time you did it, you already had sort of a success there because it was a great starting place. And
exactly, and that's with the framework that we use. It's been also handed down by our teachers who've been taught by their teachers and centuries back, probably, because people have been working on self-development, spiritual development for
sure.
so long.
Yeah.
And now we can enjoy that they've done this work before us. We don't have to reinvent everything.
And that's so profound, right? Because every generation, these people, they're looking for their own internal development, but they also realize at some stage, like they train for the benefit of others, because it's such a living thing, right? It's a living thing. And then also the discoveries that every generation makes on their own, maybe through, now we live more in a scientific world as well, where we also can name certain things better, or we can see them clearer when we're talking about internal training. That helps to speed up the process and make sure that people don't have to reinvent this wheel. So it's just it's a very profound thing when you think about it, going back through the ages, and you see lineages and stuff like that. And that's beautiful. So that's what we start with as well. When people come in, we start with this framework, and it helps it helps for everything.
Yeah. Clearness,
everything, and direction. Oh, can it go there? Really? Yep, it can.
Exactly. So will we go to the 6 levels?
Yeah. So let's talk through these 6 levels quickly, and then we go deeper into them. So the first level we're talking about is the physical level, right? Then we move up. This is an alchemy process. We go through the vibrational skill up. Metaphysical. We go beyond the physical. We go into vital energy, then we move into chi, then we move in, which is also the astral body, then we move into the mental body, then we move into Akasha / Wuji / emptiness, and then we move up into non-dual light. And then we have all the frequencies on the frequency scale we want to work with. These, the first couple are also related to the Dantian. So it's an ascension journey upwards through these vibrational levels, if you will.
Yeah. It's a new reality to look at yourself.
Totally.
From this path.
You as your being, but also the plateaus where this is, where you are living, right? And you have a physical aspect, you have an energy aspect, you have a mental aspect, but there's also a mental plane. There's an astral plane, there's a physical plane, right? But then there's also the emptiness underneath, which is this is Akasha, because everything all energy vibrates in and out of form, out of a, well, I like to use the word, the painter's canvas, right? It's just a blank canvas where creation can happen, but creation, works on different levels. It's physical, it's astral, it's mental. So and then we have non-dual light, which is the uncreated creation, you could say. It's the potential. It's just unmanifested yet, and it needs this platform and works through all these layers. So we skip nothing, right? In these six levels.
And one important thing to maybe talk about before we start going through these levels is that it's not something you walk through that you finish level 1. It's not a computer game like, okay, now I've got the physical, now I can go to the next one.
Yeah, it's not like level 2, 3. It's not like that at all. No.
It's more something you train at all these different levels.
Yeah.
And it's something that builds up on each other, but you do it next to each other as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So you could say there's a vertical approach to it. So understanding these frequencies and experiencing these frequencies, obviously, because that's what it's about. But then on every plateau, there's work to do, right? So if we imagine going into an elevator, you come up on the floor and you go out, right? And you're just like, what's the work that we can do here? And then you go up again, and what's the work we can do here to help you improve on yourself, to release yourself from stagnations on every level of your being, create movement, etc., right? So we cannot ignore the physical, right? We need a very strong physical. So let's just start there, right? That's where we start. So.
I always love it when you talk about this elevator. I can see this elevator inside of me. And
And this elevator, right? I mean, this elevator goes up and then explores, but an elevator needs an elevator shaft. So if we bring it down to the physical, first what we want to do is optimize our physical body in such a way that we can build this elevator shaft to be able to go through, right? It needs a construction, it needs an openness. So I like to use the analogy of an elevator because it's a journey up and what's happening then. So that's the first stage. We open the body, we build elasticity, we become an elastic being, very strong body. We learn how to open the joints, we open all these things that optimize our construction. And if you talk about the elevator shaft, we optimize the spine. We have to learn how to open the spine. And also, there's a releasing aspect to this. So we call that process song, where we recognize where's the physical tension that we can dissolve, and where can we dissolve that into. So the foundation of this process is that we're releasing stagnant muscle tension into fascia stretch, right? So that's the first song. There's many more levels of song, as we will see in a while. But this song process is what it's about. We create a construction so that relaxation can happen, and we clear resistance, and it becomes a lightness and an openness in the body that sets up the possibility to go up. Because without that, it's going to be very hard, right? It's just not. It's not going to work. We need a very strong body. That's why this emphasis on tendon strengthening, etc., is so important. Our physiology is so important for our whole well-being. So if you would only work on that for a while, you would already find yourself changing so much, because also mental and emotional things, etc., they sort of nestle in the physical tension. So if we can make changes there, that's going to obviously influence that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's such a profound thing, and I think it's the easiest to start. Well, easiest to start with, but it's the most obvious to start with because you have your physical.
Most people understand
body,
that they have a physical body. Yeah. Although you see, but also there you see challenges for people to concentrate on this and on these specific feelings. But that is training in itself, right? Yeah. It's just to reconnect with your physiology and becoming very aware how you have to handle this physiology throughout your day, and using that as your anchor to keep yourself released in the moments. Like, oh man, I'm so caught up in something. It's like, change your physiology. Yeah. Oh, right?
Yeah, standing right up. It just. you just feel flow going
Yeah.
through your system. And when you're like sitting on the couch or just hanging on the couch,
It's easy to get into, you know,
there's no open,
yeah.
yeah.
So we want to train,
openness.
it's so foundational, we want to train it in such a way that there's this openness that just remains, that you become an open person. You don't have to, it's like, oh, adjust. No, out of this adjusting and really strengthening the tendons, you will, at a certain point, in the whole fascia of the body, you will feel that you become a more open person. So also on a health level there, you know, you will feel, and you will notice improvements, because it's going to help your sleep, it's going to help everything, you know. Also, like, injuries will disappear, or, you know, I've helped people with frozen shoulders, getting rid of that just by stretching out and stuff like that. So it's absolutely foundational.
Yeah. I think also when you look at people, and if you see very charismatic people, they have a strong physical presence there.
Absolutely. And that influenced their whole being, right? And it influences everyone around them as well. Yeah. You know, you see people change, you know, when we teach them. It's like, I sit differently in my car. I have to change in my rear view mirror, you know, but also they find it in there that there's a reaction from their environment on that as well. Some positive, some find it hard to handle, because they see a more powerful being there. Yeah. And of course, a large part of this is becoming, is building internal power. But that happens with this fascia. I mean, fascia, it guides the energy through your system. Like, that's what we're going to talk about the next level, right? Of course, but so it conducts vital energy. So the more you have, the more internal power you're going to have, the more of a powerful presence you are going to be. And that has an effect on everything. And it's just great. You see people coming to their true strength. It's beautiful to watch. Yeah. Really beautiful. Yeah. Because it's already in there, man. We just have to create space for it, right? And,
So let's go into the elevator.
Yeah.
Next step.
Press and so we come into vital energy. Which is still very much related to we talked about fascia, right? So, but vital energy is the juice. It's our fuel, right? So, and that's important. We have to optimize our energy for everything we want to achieve, right? Internally, we need power. We need fuel.
And I think when going to this level, we first start with actually experience energy
awareness, right? Yeah. To tune in on this specific frequency. See, so the metaphysical thing starts happening is where we're starting to tune into a specific feeling that feels larger than our physical body, which also has a profound effect, of course, on there's a certain stillness that arises with that, which goes into the spiritual plane already, right? So that's
Yeah, and that I think for most people, especially talking about myself here, this is such a shift when we know, or we've experienced this before. We kind of, as a child, you're very much in contact with your energy.
Of course,
yeah. But rediscovering it and being very conscious about it, that's such a shift, because now there is this your whole perspective on yourself changes.
Totally. And I think the word you like to use is like homecoming, right? There's this homecoming thing. And let's just study that for a while, okay? So we grow up, you get all these experiences in your life, you feel there's more stress coming in your life, you're going to copy stress also, right? You're going to react to your environment, and this has an effect on you. So what happens in the body, there's a contraction. But what we're looking here for is an expansion, right? We're opening the physical body now, and we open the energy feeling. So our minds, our emotions cause this closing fist thing, and now what we're doing is we're turning that around again. And of course, you're gonna have this homecoming experience, because when you were a child, you were just spontaneous and here and present, and there was a timeless thing to it. And holidays would feel like years, right? It's like 6 weeks later, you would see your friends again. It's like, oh, I missed you, and where have you been? And like now 6 weeks could be like, right? And right, we all experience this, right? So this is a turning around of that for sure, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, we have to deal with this vital energy and make sure that we optimize it, like with our diet.
Exactly, because there is so much for so many people. There's so much to gain to look at their diet, how they spend their days, look at their sleep, all sorts of things to not spend all your energy.
Yeah.
Because we have this tendency when you just watching news, or we spend so much energy on stuff that we don't want to spend it on.
The energy follows the mind, and if the mind's unconsciously just focusing on this and this thing, constantly in a reactive state, the juice is following that completely. That's why you can get drained after all, behind all these screens and things like the world we live in now. There's so much distraction constantly knocking on your door, and that you find this reactivity. And for some people, that's an exciting life. They think like, I have this and this and that. But when you really look at it, you have to become very aware of that, because if you're constantly in a reactive state, it's gonna run your life, right? And hopefully the people listening now are already in this stage in awareness where they're like, I want to run my life, right? I want to run my energy. So of course we need the juice for that, right? So we need a strong body, we need strong juice to get that, and also can see like we're opening something, right? We're re-establishing a connection, because that's a very important part of the process of alchemy, of course, right? So and also it gives us a better space to release in also, right? That's such a huge part of this process is releasing. So even physical releasing into a feeling of vital energy will give it more space to dissolve in. And that's how simple it can be, right? When you understand this space, you experience this space.
Beautiful. Yeah. And then the next level.
Yeah, the next level is, so this vital energy is related to the lower dungeon. Now we're moving up in the elevator, click, and we come into the middle dungeon. And that's where we come into the chi level, or the astral body, the astral plane, the astral. And that happens through the first transformation. So we're slowing the vital energy down. We're slowing it down, slowing it down, slowing it down. And now it changes, right? It becomes more still even. Becomes this thick, heavy fluid. So when people are interested in doing some real qigong, where they're really moving qi through their bodies, right, through the meridian system, etc., now they know how to get into that frequency and do that optimally. And this is such a misunderstood thing. There is obviously a very big difference between this vital energy and that. So, and also for people who are into internal martial arts and stuff like that. So you see this line in the Tai Chi classics which say the mind moves the chi and the chi moves the body. Now you know how to work that. Yeah. But there's also another part to it, because if we're talking about astral body, we're talking about the soul here, right? How we experience the world through feeling. Well, this soul has a memory, okay? So everything that happened to you in your life is stored there in memories, and there's a feeling attached to this. So when we're talking about the healing aspects of this training, we want to create some equanimity there, because if traumas and all sorts of experiences that you have, and you feel that your mind is still contacting that every time in the past, unconsciously, of course, right? You're sort of being stuck in the past. So how can we change that around and so it doesn't have this grip on you anymore, so you can move forward with yourself, right? And become more and more present. So this is very important. And also, right, if we're looking at the shift from the vital energy when we're talking about the food, right? We're moving that. So what's the effect there? Yeah. You can help with herbs, for instance, right?
Yeah, these work more on this plateau. Yeah. Yeah. If people have more like the talking about trauma, which is more ingrained in the system. Yeah. Working on this plateau with herbs can really help to resolve that.
Absolutely, yeah. So this is more about these aspects, and we use elements training for that as well. We want to create a deep and profound stillness in our soul. So we become more present, and now we can choose the state that is helpful for us to move us through our space. And so the dog is drinking some a little bit, so he
I
can.
was just thinking
he's getting thirsty from all this talk around him. Yep. So that's about the astral body and chi and optimizing that. And so we move up to the next level, and we come into the mental plane. And the mental plane is the next transformation. So we're going up to the higher upper dantian, and we're coming into even more space, because the mental body, our consciousness, is not a form, right? It's not subject to space or form. It's beyond that, right? So we're going to experience a state of consciousness there that is the same as all the consciousness of all living things and the universe, etc. So we're opening ourselves into that. But obviously, the mental body has some different aspects as well, if we're thinking about our thoughts and things like that. So that is also really important, that the mental training aspect of what we're doing is there. Yeah. Because everything is concentration, everything is mindfulness, right?
And it's a funny thing. Our dog just walked in the room and he wanted to cuddle, and I was like, I need to focus on the talk that we're doing instead of him distracting me. So that was a very good example of
shifting your focus, shifting your awareness. Yeah. So mental training is a path on itself. So you come out of the elevator on that floor, and there's a lot to do with the senses, what we see, how images are projected in our minds. So most people are aware that we as people can have very noisy minds, right? So becoming skillful over that and learning how to concentrate is of utmost importance for our development. And you see, right from the start, we're already working with the mental body, because we're focusing on something. We're focusing on the body. We're focusing on the stretch. We're focusing on a joint. We're focusing on a feeling. We're focusing on the chi. We're focusing on... We have to learn how to concentrate if we want to move forward. So that's why this mental training is so important.
Yeah, and I think also there's so much conditioning in us. From our
a lot
parents,
of our thoughts are not ours, right? They're just
school. It's all it's all ingrained in us, and when you go into that mental training, you start noticing by yourself, like, why are my thoughts like this?
Exactly.
And maybe they're not the truth. Maybe there is also other ways. So again, the training helps you to give you more choices.
Absolutely. But by separating your higher awareness from these thoughts, the thoughts can just be there. They won't touch you in this way, right? And you have a choice if you want to touch them. And that's so important, because if you start unconsciously touching your thoughts, you're in a creation cycle, and it has an effect on your astral body, has an effect on your physical body, has an effect on your actions, everything. It controls you. If we learn how to separate that, now we have choice, right? So this mental thing is everything. Everything is a consciousness, and that's obviously one of the higher things we want to achieve, is to reestablish this consciousness also, in our environment, because that's where a lot of liberation is. Think about Buddha sitting under a tree, reaching alignment. Obviously, he is in some sort of expanded state because of the nature and the trees. Think about it. You go to the woods, you walk in the woods, and you become aware of the woods. It's very hard to really think hard about your problems, right? That's why people go start walking. It's a good exercise. You're in a depressed state. You have experience with whatever grief, things that happen to you, and you start going into nature. You start walking. You start exercising. You are gonna experience the same states as we're talking about now, right? It's not something special. They are there, but we create a framework for people to. You go there, go there. See this, see that, so that you can get there quickly and quicker, and still going into nature, of course, is very helpful. So expanded mind state, and we're talking about microcosm, macrocosm. This thing, this Taoist idea, and it's not only Taoist idea. It's just this thing is so liberating, because your whole perspective changes, right? It already changes from the bat, from, oh, that's fascia, right? And that's energy, oh, that's astral energy. But becoming present, really present, it's homecoming with only capitals, I guess, right? It's like homecoming. So
Absolutely. So, and beyond that, we have another 2 steps.
Yeah, sure. So we talked a little bit about emptiness and the form and the painter's canvas. So we go through the elevator. We've gone through the mental body. Now we open the crown and we go up. And there we reach the Akasha level. So when we can tune into this emptiness, we have a tremendous tool, because everything has an emptiness. So think about all we've been talking about today is like the mental tension, etc. Your thoughts have an emptiness underneath as well. So releasing stuck thoughts and things like that, or releasing stuck emotions, things that are still there, traumas. If we can recognize the emptiness underneath them, it's become so much easier to dissolve them. Plus, it's a timeless thing, and it's formless also. So the law of attraction works wonders here. So if you would go into affirmations in this thing, you're gonna speed up your personal process so quickly. It's hard to talk about it because the rational mind's like, no, it's an experience, right?
Absolutely.
But it's a large part of the training, and it's really helpful when people get there. They're like, wow, this is such a helpful frequency on all levels, right? It makes everything speed up if you're in that anything you want to realize. Even if you want to attract vital energy towards yourself, if you're doing that from that state, it just works wonders.
It kind of reinstalls you into the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
You see yourself in the universe almost.
You start understanding what the creation process, the manifesting process is all about. So if we want to create that more consciously, this process, you start understanding that, wait a minute, this is how it works, right? It all works on this painter's canvas. So what do I actually want to create, and how can I use this? Well, always, also, of course, the side effect of this is that the stillness will only deepen and deepen in this emptiness, right? So talking from you have this manifesting process, but you also have this spiritual process, is that the deepness of the stillness and following this path of stillness right from the start, by making an open light body through all these frequencies, all these floors we've been moving through, the stillness will go deeper and deeper, but also the space will become bigger and bigger, right? So this has a profound effect that can only be experienced. It's hard to talk about, but it changes people drastically. And then we have the light. So the next stage is moving into non-dual light. So if we're talking about Akasha being the painter's canvas, right? So now the light is the unmanifested creation that seeks this platform to create on. If we can tune into this non-dual light, we access the potential for creation, if you will. So, and it's so helpful. This is also beyond words in a sense that if we start working with it, light is always there. It's just seeking expression constantly. But now it can heal us in a much more efficient way, because bringing it back to this opening of the body and then releasing on every plateau and every floor we've been to, and then we have access to Akasha. Now this light can move through us so much more efficiently. So by training this light, you become more and more and more a light being, and spreading your purpose into the world with your own specific skill, talent, etc. And this is something that just starts to happen out of the training. So for a lot of people, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life or where I'm going. If people start moving through this process, they'll soon realize what it is they want to do. It's just a magical thing. Light is non-dual. So that means it doesn't differentiate between good or bad. It doesn't have that thing. It's just light. I think of the sun. The sun is just the sun. It's a thing, but it creates, right? That's maybe the best example that I can give, right? There's no life without it, but it doesn't differentiate. You can differentiate, and that's important, right? So by resetting your whole system and opening the system, now this light can go through you, and now internal success is there.
Yeah. It's what you said before, and you're talking about it quite a bit now, although it's hard to describe, as it's such an experience. But it's when you experience it, it's magical training. It's although it's also very I'm lost for words, really. It doesn't feel very far off because it's there, and you again it's making something that's there very conscious.
We've been talking about homecoming and the reactions. You see the reaction I had myself when I went into that, and it was not like whoa, it was more like thank you, there it is, right? I mean, we're talking about it, of course, and it's hard to explain, but I guess that will come through the words that when you think about light, this profound light, we need a little bit more light in the world, you could say, right? And so coming back from this, and you think about if you haven't been through this process and you see contraction and everything, how can this light ever work fluently through you and optimally through you? It's just not gonna happen. And now from this training, going through this, it will it's just gonna help, and it's gonna bring your light into the world, right?
I love that.
So
wow, so that was our these are the 6 levels.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see, there one is not better than the other.
No.
It's a complete thing, and we work on all and everything. And we also take other things with that. You know, the personal development thing is very important here. The spiritual development, obviously, it's a total package.
Yeah. So
one size fits all. Sort of.
And then you can, see what's there for you.
Absolutely. So your goal was this. Now you come into this framework, and it's like you can reach this goal, but you can also maybe see beyond this goal. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, right?
Yeah.
Or it's just beautiful.
Beautiful. Okay. We're through it. I hope that was helpful to make you see, like, what's the recipe that they're using when we train with you. And we'll get more into it in different podcasts. So,
absolutely, we'll deepen these the floors, right? What's happening there, and for sure. So thanks, Didi, and thank you for listening. And happy training.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.